Scott and Jeff, here we are again, Road Atlanta, RS Invitational. Thank you both for being here, first of all. Two significant cars here, Scott. A lot of people know about 906s and 910s. I'm going to give you the microphone, and a few talking points of what exactly the chassis are and what they represent historically in significance of the 906 and the 910 out of the Revs Institute.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Tim. It's been a great couple of days, and looking forward to wrapping things up with the beautiful sunny skies here today. So this is a 67 910 on this side. This is chassis 910 007. This car was driven by Udo Schutz and Joe Bozzetta to the 1000K Nürburgring win in 1967, and it was a works car at the time. It's been restored about 10 years ago, back to its exact sort of Nürburgring configuration, and it's also one of the cars, one of the 910s that was fit with the 8-cylinder engines, which they tried in some of the 907s. So it was a significant win for Porsche with Joe Bozzetta and Udo, who was about your size or my size, and Joe Bozzetta was somewhere in the middle, and they both somehow pulled it off and had a great race. So we're happy to have that car with us. And then over here we have chassis 906 125, which is currently in the 1968 Nürburgring configuration. This car was purchased new by Anthony Wilhuri, who was a Finnish driver, but also owned Volkswagen dealerships and distributorships in Finland, and they had a racing team, the AAW racing team, and this car was his Finnish championship-winning car for that year. And he also, at the Nürburgring, they ran in 66, 67, 68 at Nürburgring, and we decided to restore the car to the Nürburgring configuration from 1968. We try, as you know, not to restore when we don't have to, but both of these cars had long racing lives, and they both had to be restored. And so this one, both of them were brought back as accurately as we could get them to be. And so you'll see again a lot of odd features on this car when you look around and say, why'd they do that?
Right. That's awesome. Thank you, Scott. I mean, the significance is important, and to have them here, being put back into motion by gentlemen drivers and professional race car drivers. Jeff, you're no stranger of these things. You've driven, I would imagine, every Porsche at this point. You're an owner of a 906. Tell us about the feedback, the drivability of these cars, maybe a comparison to your 906 versus this 906, and then obviously the evolution into the 910.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting time for Porsche, because you think about it from the 904, the plastic era of cars, 904 to the 917, it was really a span of only about 5 or 6 years, and the jumps that the cars took were huge, and you can see it between these two. And if you were to equate it to road cars, modern road cars, a 904 was a road car built for occasional racing. The 906 was a race car built for occasional road use. And in the same way, the GT3, Porsche will say, oh, that's a road car built for occasional racing. GT3 RS is a racing car that's occasional road. So that mindset even was in those days. And when you think about the jumps of 904 to the 906 to the 910 being so close together, yet they drive so different. And it was a huge jump to go to this car, because it was really a plastic race car with good look at aerodynamics for the first time, and then the 910 being something that was dedicated race car. And as a driver, this car still, when you get on the back straightaway here at Road Atlanta, you get up it feels like it gets up on its tippy toes. It starts to ride high, the air. It's a very aerodynamic shape, but the aerodynamic shape also created a lot of lift. So whenever you saw these cars at speed in photographs, they were up very high, even with the dive planes. And so the transition from this to the 910, suddenly there's a lot of stability. I think the tire actual contact patch on the racetrack is almost double in this car compared to this car. So the grip in that car is amazing. And you like Scott said, to be under 1,300 pounds is absolutely amazing, and to take kind of same power plants in a way to move between these two. This car is just so much more capable, so much more drivable in a racing form, and able to really put it where you want to put it, as opposed to this, where you kind of have to plan ahead. There's a cadence to it, everything, where this is locked to the ground comparatively. So, and it's amazing because the next steps were 908, 907, 917, all just in a matter of a few years. So this, to me, the 10 was the launching point of dedicated race cars, and it definitely feels that way compared to the 906.
Right. Guys, again, thank you very much for your time, generosity. I think we're going back live on the track, so Jeff, you might as well hop in one and go have some fun. First of all, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for bringing, your RS RSR. And I know that this is perhaps your first time at Road Atlanta, as we've discussed over the last couple of days. Not your first time on a racetrack. You're a damn good driver. And literally, just walk us through kind of the comparison of, other racetracks and what your thoughts are of Road Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, it's been great being here with all you guys from RoadScholars and the Revs Institute and everybody else who's out here. It's been a great couple of days. Road Atlanta's been fantastic. This is my first time here. The track itself has a lot of history, obviously. Yeah. And it's a really nice facility. And the track itself, a lot of flowing curves, some nice changes in elevation. Done some racing and driving on the track, but being here for the first time has been great. The downhill, especially in the wet, coming underneath the bridge right before the straight, that's a little, keep your head up.
Yeah, turn 12, right?
Turn 12. Probably my favorite section is, coming around and entering the S's and just starting to just get the flow, especially of a car that, you're sort of moving the weight around with an old car like this and getting the throttle on through the bottom of the S's.
Right, and I know you're driving, it's such an awesome thing. Just explain a little bit of the historical significance.
Yeah, this is a pretty interesting car. It's a 3-liter RS, 74 3-liter Carrera RS, delivered as a road car, so it's had a little bit of a life as a road car, had mostly a life as a rally car and a race car, and so it raced at Le Mans 76 and 77, top 10 both times overall, and did a bunch of rallying, won its class at the Monte Carlo Rally and Tour Auto and some other rallies. And, it's one of these things where it was a 10-year-old race car and rally car, but they were still using it into the 80s.
Right.
And so I've had it now for not quite 2 years, and I've really been enjoying it.
Yeah, where you're driving the wheels off of it, as they say, right? And it's such a cool thing, and it's fun to drive old cars fast, right? I also watched you climb out of a 906 after going a few laps with Patrick Long. Just expand on that a little bit, and did you show him any pointers along the way?
Yeah, I try to keep him in line a little bit, teach him one or two things. No, I mean, I've been fortunate to be able to ride along with professional drivers before, and you ride along with a professional driver is just a very different experience, and you see what they do. But to be able to do it in a historic car like a 906, where you're sitting almost on top of the pavement, the engine's right behind your head,
loud,
and you got somebody like Pat Long who's been pretty successful at this track, pedaling it, and it's just a kind of one of those once in a lifetime experiences to be able to see that.
Well, it's awesome. Again, thank you.
Great.
For your time and your generosity, and we're going to do more of it. It's going to be a lot of fun, but get back out there and have some fun.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, man. Matt and Steve, here we are again, another RS Invitational at Road Atlanta. Matt, 910 chassis 20. You've had it a year now, the second time out here at Road Atlanta. I see you out there. Your confidence is growing.
I was say diminishing, but we're good.
Diminishing. Just tell us a little bit about your experiences. Where are those moments in the track that are like, oh my goodness? And
The entire thing.
yeah.
No, it's great to get out. The car's running awesome. It's when you've got the modern cars behind you, especially this fucker named Fred, everything changes because he is up your butt the entire time. But there's a lot of blind spots out there, which you've got to constantly talk to yourself and remind yourself: do not slow down, do not take your foot off the gas, keep going. To which I always take my foot off the gas, I slow down, and I do not keep going. But
Right.
it's fun. It's fun to dress up for a day as a race car driver.
And I commend you for staying within your skill levels, being very smart about it. When you have the fastest vintage car out here, but you are the slowest driver, right? But so I appreciate that, and I would be doing the same thing. Steve, you've obviously experienced a lot of vintage cars in your time, and you're not necessarily. I've heard you say you're not a track guy per se, but yeah. But you just went on a ride in a 906 E with Patrick Long. Just tell us a little bit what that was like.
It was worth every moment of traveling here to have that experience. I mean, he is, as we're trying to talk in the car, which was impossible, that's a part of Porsche history that is a sweet spot, along with the 910 here. You suddenly realize these are sophisticated Kleenex boxes. They're so light, there's nothing to them. And these guys, in period, driving them the way they did in a 24-hour race or a 12-hour race or any endurance race or a hill climb, it gives you a vast appreciation of the talent these guys had. And Patrick was driving that car like he was driving a go-kart. And as he's, in the dynamics of a change, when you put 220 pounds in it next to you for braking, for steering, well, all of a sudden, the way the car comes through a corner, he was doing it a little differently. It didn't take him but 5 minutes to figure that out. So it was a thrill. It's an absolute thrill.
But that's the crazy thing, is that he's so comfortable that he will have a full-blown conversation. I think when I was with him, I swear he was texting while driving.
Yeah, no.
I mean, he is so laid back. It's so calm.
He was
about
pairing
it.
his phone to the car.
Meanwhile, I'm there shitting a brick. Going, please slow down. Please keep your eyes on the road.
But the question for you is, and I know we talked about this a little bit, that was used on the Colorado trip.
Yeah.
So huge difference in your mindset to drive it in traffic or on the track?
No, in Colorado, most of it was not in traffic. I mean, there was very few parts where we drove through small towns, which was amazing to actually drive through a small town and see everybody's reactions to the 906s and the 910. I would say that the scenery in Colorado was a lot nicer than around a track. But they're two very different experiences, and I'm thrilled that I could have both of those experiences.
What are your biggest takeaways over the last couple of days as we're kind of winding down here?
Amazing machines. That's what burns in my mind when I come and jump into a 910 with the RS Institute or RoadScholars. Camaraderie, conversation, great food. It's a blend of machinery and humans that is kind of that perfect recipe, and I always enjoy these events.
Exactly. It's that old adage of cars are great, people are better, right? And I know you've driven pretty much every Porsche. One car that you hadn't driven before this weekend was a 910, correct? Feedback from that, driver feedback?
Yeah, just amazing to feel the evolution of a car that's so good in the 6, and then to go to the 10 and realize you have more tire, more refinement, and even a little less weight. It's just squeezing that rag a little tighter and more performance. But every single time I jump into one of these cars, it's an immersive experience. It takes you back to an era where drivers were so brave, and everything was about performance. Every little piece of weight savings, every little piece of aero, and they were learning in a whole different sandbox than they are these days. So for me as a driver who's made a living in a modern car, to go back into some of these cars, it's the closest I'll ever get to being a period driver in the heyday.
Right, and that's neat for all of us to experience. And I've ridden with you in a GT car before, a newer car. You've been giving people rides here. That's part of the event. Has anybody been really scared? Have you scared anybody in one of the ride-alongs?
Nobody that's admitted it, but I was thinking as I went out of the pits today in the 906 with a passenger that the visceral experience of just the sound and the feeling of these chassis and the tire feedback, it must feel like you're going twice the speed of the modern GT3, even though we're going about half the speed.
Right, exactly.
This was an event that really is all about camaraderie and using historic cars the way they were supposed to be driven, and that's around this wonderful track, Michelin Raceway here at Road Atlanta. This is the second year again that we've had the event here, and we've had 24 cars just wrap up the day, 42 clients over the last 2 days here, and we've had an unbelievable time. This has just been an unbelievable second annual event, and I'm so proud of these events that we're doing. You know, it's not static cars. These are cars being used in motion and being enjoyed on the track. I hope you enjoy the footage of this and the film of this, and thank you for watching.